Shortly after graduating from college, I landed my dream job in a high-profile industry. I had wanted to work in this field for as long as I could remember, and was so excited that I finally had the chance. I worked hard to prove myself to my coworkers and employers. I made a lot of friends in my work and loved what I did. On a business trip, a bunch of colleagues and I decided to have a beer and something to eat after a long day. And then we came back to this hotel. We were all staying in the same hotel, and everyone wanted to party, and somehow they all ended up in my room, but I told them, just let's move the party out of the way. It was time for me to get some sleep. So I took a sleeping pill and wanted to get some beauty rest. I woke up face down with someone on top of me. Disoriented from the sleeping pill and my surroundings, it took me a moment to realize I was being raped.
"What are you doing?" I screamed. "Having sex with a beautiful girl," he said.
I recognized the voice. It was one of my bosses. I managed to get free and locked myself in the bathroom, praying my roommate would return soon. Returned the next morning, the man was still in our room. Baffled, she asked him to leave. I was a mess. I was still locked in the bathroom and had showered again and again until my skin was raw. With my roommate's help, I reported the rape and was taken to the hospital to be examined for evidence. The police and doctors were so kind, but that didn't take away any of the additional feeling of violation. The police officer that was with me explained to me what would happen if and when this went to trial. The defense attorney would make me look like a promiscuous girl. They would call all my past boyfriends to the stand, and if there was anything in my past that would make me look bad, they would find it and use it. It would be ugly, but it would be important to make sure that this never happened again. I agreed to press charges, and they went to arrest him. He had already left the area and was on his way to the airport to leave the country. I returned home and tried to put my life back together while I waited. I was terrified to sleep without the lights on or alone in my apartment. I had a series of accidents, nearly cutting my finger off slicing bread. I lost a ton of weight and dressed as androgynously as possible. My relationship with my boyfriend fell apart. I isolated myself and pushed friends away and became more and more angry. I ended up moving home to my parents' house to get better. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety disorder. I was having nightmares and panic attacks regularly. I was so angry with the man that did this to me. I wanted to kill him. I hated him with every ounce of strength I had in my body. He deserved to die. He was a bad person. I was also angry with God. I had gone to church my whole life. How could he let this happen to me? What kind of God was he? A few months later, when I was sitting at church, the pastor told the parable of the Unmerciful Servant. I had heard it since I was a child, but this time something caught my attention. The story goes like this. There was a servant who was unable to repay his debt to his master, the king. He begged for mercy, and the master forgave his debt. The servant then goes out and demands repayment of a debt that a fellow servant owed him, and when that man begged for mercy, the servant had him thrown in jail. The king was so angry with the servant. When he heard about this, he threw him in jail, saying, "You should forgive your fellow servant just as I forgave you." He spoke about how in God's eyes sin is sin. that no sin is better or worse than others. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Because God forgives us, who are we not to forgive those who have sinned against us? Unforgiveness doesn't hurt anyone but you. By not forgiving someone, you end up bitter, unable to move forward, stuck in perpetual pain. It was like a bolt of lightning struck me. No one owes me anything. I spent the rest of that day forgiving everyone who in my mind had wronged me, even my rapist. People must have thought I was insane walking around saying, "No one owes me anything." By that night, I was totally spent. The anger that had fueled me to put one foot in front of the other was gone. I slept the entire next day. A few days later, out of the blue, I got an email from someone I had gone to elementary school with. I had not spoken to her since elementary school, but she had been one of the people I forgave. She started out saying that she had been thinking a lot about me recently and wanted to ask forgiveness for how she treated me when we were kids. I had to laugh. I wrote her back and let her know she didn't know me anything, and of course I forgave her. My rapist has never been arrested. I am married now with a family, and I am thankful, actually, that I haven't had to go through the ordeal of a trial. I still have PTSD. I'm sure some people will say, what's the big deal here? There's no Red Sea parting. The difference in me is that there was a miracle that was bigger than any miracle that I've ever read about. Forgiving and even praying for those who have wronged me has created a paradigm shift inside me. I've gone from being a victim to a survivor, and I thank God every day for that.